is back now. Sorry for fooling you like that, but the microphone came back. Hello and welcome to episode 129 of the Story Stream. Yes, it's been two weeks. 2 weeks and 3 days since we were last together, and I took that time off because my microphone was with the good people at Rode. I sent my microphone, which was still under warranty, in for repairs, and instead of returning it to me, they sent me this new one, which I trust sounds fine. I've done a small test, and I believe we're back in business. I am sorry to see my old one go. I hope they repurpose it and find a new home for it. But as it is, welcome, new microphone, to the Story Stream, and welcome to you. It has been 2 weeks, and what's happened in that time? Well, unfortunately, I hurt my shoulder in that time, and I will have to play it by ear how far we can work today, but until it hurts too much to work, I think we will work. I have on my desk this beautiful bouquet. Two of my neighbors were making and selling bouquets yesterday, and I picked up these two, and I have to say, I don't know if I've ever seen a more beautiful bouquet of flowers, really. And I don't know where they found so many beautiful flowers. I didn't know they grew them in their homes. Maybe they free-range them. How are you? I hope wherever you are, your days are full of clear-sounding microphones and beautiful and fragrant flowers. Let's get to the story, shall we? We left off on Friday, 2 Fridays ago, episode 127, with the story of a leprechaun who liked to cook, and some magic that escaped. But I don't remember too much else, except that mushrooms feature heavily. So let's go back to it. Boy, 2 weeks off and I fall out of the habit a little. Are you ready? Let's go. I just noticed, just now, that the other camera doesn't have a microphone set up yet. So let's take care of that right now. I apologize. I should have thought of that sooner. I didn't. And this is going to take just a minute. So while I do that, please just sit put. It really should be that simple. Can you hear me? I believe you can. All right. Are you ready? Let's do that again. We started on Friday 2 weeks ago with the words mushroom, skyscraper, yodel, and beautiful. We had the idea that we might tell a story about Marty Mushroom, good old Marty Mushroom from Food City. Then we had the idea we might make one of these accordion-style books, and we'd make a colossal mushroom. But then we doodled a leprechaun, a rainbow, and a mushroom, and we got the idea that we might tell this story. At the end of rainbows, if you're lucky enough to follow one to its end, you will usually find a pot of gold. Most people think this is because leprechauns hide their gold there at the end of rainbows. This is not the case. The leprechauns put empty pots at the ends of rainbows to catch magic. You see, rainbows hold powerful magic. The pots the leprechauns use catch the magic and prevent it from spilling everywhere. That much magic unleashed in the world would be a catastrophe. So, once upon a time, there was a leprechaun named Simon who developed a taste for soup. It started with simple boiled potatoes, but soon he started experimenting with broths and bisques. One day he was trying a new recipe. It was the most delicious clam chowder he had ever made. It was so delicious, he failed to notice the storm clouds brewing above his head. Suddenly the storm thundered, dumped buckets of rain, and then broke as quickly as it started. Simon had no time to ready his pot. The rainbow shot through the clouds and fell to earth. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," cried Simon. "This cannot be good." He left his pot of chowder and rushed to the rainbow's end. "There's no telling what damage has been done," he worried. "We might have purple polka-dotted cows or flying pigs to deal with." But when Simon got to the rainbow's end, he only noticed a ring of mushrooms. "This doesn't seem so bad," panted Simon. No sooner had he said that than sprawling, a giant mushroom grew out of the ground. Simon stood in the shadow of the colossal champignon and stared slack-jawed. "This is definitely not good," he said. To be continued. This was where we left off. We left off with another leprechaun coming to visit Simon. "What's behind that fence, Simon?" So he's trying to hide it from his leprechaun co-workers, which makes me think that this is very serious business. Okay, so what do we have? We have a leprechaun named Simon. I don't think Simon is an Irish name. We might need to work on that. We have a leprechaun named Simon who would rather be cooking than doing his leprechaun duties. We have a gigantic mushroom that needs taken care of. It seems to me the obvious thing would be to have Simon chop down that mushroom and turn it into soup, but maybe that's too obvious. We potentially have other leprechauns around. Oh, this puts me in mind of James and the Giant Peach. Right? They didn't just make a ton of peach cobbler at the end of that story. They used it for something else. And I would love for our leprechaun to do that. Let's change it from Simon to Leaf. Leaf leprechaun? That's a Scandinavian name, not an Irish name. Boy, I hope the microphone's working. Here we go. Let's get our story organized. At the end of rainbows, if you're lucky enough to follow one to its end, you will usually find a pot of gold. Hey, speaking of rainbows. Most people think this is because leprechauns hide their gold there. This is not the case. The leprechauns put empty pots at the end of rainbows. No, the leprechauns put empty pots at the end of rainbows because rainbows hold powerful magic. That much magic unleashed in the world would be a catastrophe. The leprechauns use their pots to catch the magic and prevent it from spilling everywhere. The magic will, over time, turn to gold. Wait, what did we say at the very beginning? All right. The magic will, over time, turn to gold. What do we think leprechauns... So in folklore, what do leprechauns care with gold? I mean, do they just want it to add to their collections? Do they have massive storerooms of gold, or is there something special about it? Or do they trade it with humans for goods and services? Little shoes, maybe. The magic will, over time, turn to gold. And the leprechauns will use that gold to buy tiny shoes. Or favors from poor farmers. Or even throw it into the sea, which is why sunsets look so beautiful. Sunsets do look beautiful, and I haven't seen a sunset like this in many years. Where I live, the sunset is obscured usually by fog, so you don't get to see the sunsets setting over the horizon behind the ocean, or what it looks like behind the ocean. But when I was a kid living in Indonesia, I remember seeing the sunset happen far out at sea. Actually, it didn't ever seem like that far. And you would see the reflection of the sun on the surface of the water coming towards you, and it would look like shimmering gold, maybe schools of golden fish swimming towards you. And this is a little bit what I'm trying to draw here. Although, of course, instead of the Indian Ocean, this would be the Atlantic, the North Atlantic. This might be the White Cliffs of Dover. The magic will, over time, turn to gold, and the leprechauns will use that gold to buy tiny shoes or favors from poor farmers, or even throw the gold. They may even throw the gold into the sea, which is why sunsets look so beautiful. But this is a story about a time when when that magic got loose. I do not know how to draw Celtic designs. Once upon a time, there was a leprechaun. Ah, boy. So much to do. So much to do when we write these stories. I need to find out what a traditional Irish name is, because I am pretty certain Simon isn't one. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to look up right now. Sometimes I'll work around names, but today I feel like sticking with it. All right, are you ready? I'm going to go with the name Louis, but I don't know if I can bring myself to spell it that way, and I apologize in advance to anyone of Irish descent listening to this. I'd be interested to know how to pronounce that name properly, and if it's common or if it's an antique word. But I think for now I will call the leprechaun Louis. See, but it's bothering me because my mother's name was Sri, and she was called Susie by people who couldn't bother to learn or pronounce the name Sri. So changing Louis, spelled Lughidh, to just Louis, Louie, seems offensive in the same way to me. So let's do it. Let's spell it Lughidh, Louis. Once upon a time, there was a leprechaun named Louis who developed a taste for soup. Let me also adjust the brightness here. It started with simple boiled potatoes, but soon he started experimenting with broths and bisques. One day, he tried a new recipe. It was the most delicious clam chowder he had ever made. It was so delicious, he failed to notice I don't want to say delicious twice there, but I don't want to say yummy either. Scrumptious? One day, he tried a new recipe. It was the most mouth-watering clam chowder he had ever made. It was so delicious, he failed to notice the storm clouds brewing above his head. Suddenly, the storm thundered and dumped buckets of rain. Suddenly, the storm opened and dumped buckets of rain. It broke as quickly as it started. It broke as quickly as it started. A glorious rainbow shooting through the clouds. And falling to earth. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," cried Louis. "This cannot be good." He left his pot of chowder and rushed to the rainbow's end. "There's no telling what damage has been done," he worried. "We might have purple polka-dotted cows or flying pigs to deal with." But when Louis got to the rainbow's end, he only noticed a ring of mushrooms. "Well, this doesn't seem so bad," he panted. No sooner had Louis said that than, sprawling, a giant mushroom grew out of the ground. It was as tall as a skyscraper. And birds It was as tall as a skyscraper and cast a long shadow across the fields. Let's color that in a little. Incidentally, my shoulder is not feeling that bad. I'm pleased to say, and you might have been wondering, so I'm glad to report everything's A-okay here. It's always strange to me how quickly time passes. It was really 2 weeks ago that we last saw each other. Yeah. Hard to believe the time goes that quickly. All right, I think this line is just a little too clever for its own good. Simon stood and stared at the colossal fungus. I guess I could say humongous fungus. I refuse to say humongous fungus. If I'm not going to say colossal champignon, I will not say humongous fungus. Simon stood and stared at slack-jawed at the colossal fungus. This is definitely not good. All right. And do you know what? All that work, and we've just sort of reacquainted ourselves with where we are. So I did end on that Friday with this sketch. Let's change Simon to Louis. What's behind that fence, Louis? So we have a couple options here. Louis could realize he's in trouble from the Fraternal Order of Leprechauns, and realize he needs to do something to... Okay. Louis could realize that he's in trouble with the League of Leprechauns, and he needs to do something to hide it. So he could try to disguise it as a skyscraper, which would take us back to one of our original sketch ideas. Right, I think I've decided that we're not making a soup out of this mushroom. So we need to decide what happens. All right, we have a gigantic mushroom. We have a leprechaun who's probably in trouble. He needs to hide the mushroom. He can do that by concealing it, disguising it as a skyscraper. But then, of course, a skyscraper in a field full of maybe sheep would be oddly conspicuous and not much of a disguise at all. So we'll have to go further than that. So let's get some paper out and see what happens to our good friend Louis. This is definitely not good. Leprechauns take the task of protecting the world from rainbow magic very seriously. Louis knew he would be in big trouble from the Leprechaun Guild. If they saw this mushroom. What does our friend Louis look like? Trying to draw him pinching his nose like this. So what does that look like? There we go. I need to get rid of this mushroom. Said Louis. But how? Birds wheeled far above, around the peak of the mushroom. If I chop it down, said Louis, it'll crash across a dozen sheep farms. If I take it apart in smaller pieces, if I take it down in smaller pieces, look who's here. Good old Shasta. Hello, Shasta. He's been so mopey lately. I do feel bad for him sometimes. He's kind of a nervous dog. I wish he would relax. If I take it apart in smaller pieces, I'll have more than I know what to do with. All right, here's Louis imagining some different results. Here he's imagining the mushroom smashing into some sheep fields. You know, I take it back, my back is hurting. This has been a very frustrating development. I don't even have that many mushroom recipes. Put a few more bowls of soup here. And nobody wants that much mushroom soup. How are you? I'm feeling a bit sore in the shoulder, a bit hoarse in the voice, but otherwise all right. Let's see. Organizing my papers while I think about where I want to go from here. We're 37 minutes in, and it is 4:23. I got an earlier start today than I have in a very, very long time. And I think that's a good habit to try and maintain going forward, especially because it's going to be getting darker a lot sooner, very soon. We need some other characters in the story. What else lives in Ireland? Banshees, which are wailing ghosts. Kind of terrifying characters. Not certain, the kind of creature that would want to make a home in a mushroom skyscraper. Pukas, which are horses. Man, I really hope this microphone's working. It looks like it is. But one thing I'm noticing, strangely, is a lag, which there always is. But I hope on your end it's coming through clearly, because what I see on the screen and what I hear happening is disjointed and a little disorienting. Are we ready? Let's see. No, said Louis. There is only one thing for it. I need to hide this mushroom. All right, so here's an idea. I'm not sure what I think about it because, well, let me tell you the idea. The idea is that Louis says there's only one thing to do. We need to hide this mushroom. And so Louis hires some people using leprechaun gold to construct the frame, or actually to turn the mushroom into a skyscraper. Now, these people who show up and do the work, they now find their pockets full of leprechaun gold. I keep looking at the camera because I think I see a rainbow in my nose. These people now have their pockets full of leprechaun gold, and they might hire people for other services. So while they are there carving and sculpting the mushroom into a gigantic building, they're going to need to buy dinner from cooks. They will need to buy things, tools from toolsmiths, and a whole city could pop up around this mushroom. So maybe there's an allegory in there about hoarded wealth. Maybe the leprechauns never should have interfered with rainbows coming to Earth. The reason I say I don't know how I feel about it is because I know very strongly how I feel about hoarded wealth, which is I'm against it. And I would not want to confuse the subject with a story. But I guess we could just carry on and see what happens. We could also burn the whole thing down if we chose. All right, let's maybe get one more page in before we wrap it up for today. And there is only one way to do that. Louis grabbed a large pouch of leprechaun gold and ran to the nearest village. Attention! Your attention, please, he cried. He announces from atop this wagon. And I don't know what era this takes place in. I don't think medieval times, nothing like that. The townsfolk gathered. I think I would place this maybe in the late 1800s. Do you know what story I used to really like? Probably have it nearby. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato. That is a great story told by an Italian man about an Irish community. I'll tell you one of these days about my Irish heritage. Let's carry on. Oh my, did it get dark? I need carpenters, said Louis. What for? Wee man. Would they say that? Is that a bit rude? I think they would address a leprechaun a bit. What for, leprechaun? Asked a woman. I'm building a big home. I'm building a big house. The largest you have ever seen. We can help, said a man. We've all built our own homes. Excellent. Said Louis. Now, I think the story needs a bit of. I was talking about hoarded wealth. I think I would like to put a bit in there about how Louis doesn't want to pay, but maybe maybe there's a clever kid in this village who tricks Louis into spending that money. We can help, said the man. We've all built our own homes. What is this house for? It's for the poor and unfortunate, said Louis. He did not say he was talking about himself. Yeah, we're going to make Louis a bit naughtier here. They will kick me out of the leprechaun kingdom for sure. Whined Louis. Poor unfortunate me. I will have no place to go. Snapped Louis suddenly. But how? I think we might get rid of that reverie where he imagines how to get rid of the mushroom, and he'll just go straight to trying to trick these villagers. I have another book named Fiona's Luck about a young girl who tricks a leprechaun. I should find that one too. And tell you what, let me wrap this up, and then I'll find those books in preparation for Wednesday. What are we waiting for? Said the villagers. Let's go. Oh, here's Louis making a poor, sad face. Holding his hat in his hands. Trying to make everyone feel very, very sympathetic. Said the sympathetic villagers, let's go. The villagers grabbed their tools. And headed out of the village. The townsfolk grabbed their tools and headed out of the village. Perfect, sneered Louis. He thought everyone had left. But he didn't see a little pair of eyes watching from behind. A pig pen. That's maybe a little too devious looking, but now, I mentioned a book called Fiona's Luck. I know a young Irish person named Fiona. But I don't think I'm going to name this person Fiona. But anyway, for now, let us say this. To be continued. Thank you so much for joining me today for episode 129 of the Story Stream. I will be back on Wednesday for episode 130 and part 3 of the story. So for now, let's do our final read-along of the day and leave the story there. Let's also take a whiff of these flowers again because they truly are beautiful. And I'm glad to appreciate them and share them with you. Are you ready? At the end of the rainbows, if you're lucky enough to follow one to its end, you will usually find a pot of gold. Most people think this is because leprechauns hide their gold there. This is not the case. The leprechauns put empty pots at the end of rainbows because rainbows hold powerful magic. That much magic unleashed in the world would be a catastrophe. The leprechauns use their pots to catch the magic and prevent it from spilling everywhere. The magic will, over time, turn to gold, and the leprechauns will use that gold to buy tiny shoes or favors from poor farmers. They may even throw the gold into the sea, which is why sunsets look so beautiful. But this is a story about a time when that magic got loose. Once upon a time, there was a leprechaun named Louis who developed a taste for soup. It started with simple boiled potatoes, but he soon started experimenting with broths and bisques. One day, he tried a new recipe. It was the most mouth-watering clam chowder he had ever made. It was so delicious he failed to notice the storm clouds brewing above his head. Suddenly, the storm opened and dumped buckets of rain. It broke as quickly as it started. A glorious rainbow shooting through the clouds and falling to earth. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," cried Louis. "This cannot be good." He left his pot of chowder and rushed to the rainbow's end. "There's no telling what damage has been done," he worried. "We might have purple polka-dotted cows or flying pigs to deal with." But when Louis got to the rainbow's end, he only noticed a ring of mushrooms. "Well, this doesn't seem so bad," he panted. No sooner had he said that than, sproing, a giant mushroom grew out of the ground. It was as tall as a skyscraper and cast a long shadow across the fields. Simon stood and stared slack-jawed at the colossal fungus. This is definitely not good. Leprechauns take the task of protecting the world from rainbow magic very seriously. Louis knew he would be in big trouble with the Leprechaun Guild if they saw this mushroom. "They will kick me out of the Leprechaun Kingdom for sure," whined Louis. "Poor unfortunate me, I will have no place to go. I need to get rid of this mushroom," snapped Louis suddenly. Louis snapped out of it. "I need to get rid of this mushroom. But how?" Louis snapped out of it. Birds wheeled far above around the peak of the mushroom. While Louis planned. If I chop it down, he said, it'll crash across a dozen sheep farms. If I take it apart in smaller pieces, I'll have more than I know what to do with. I don't even have that many mushroom recipes. And nobody wants that much mushroom soup. No, said Louis, there's only one thing for it. I need to hide this mushroom, and there's only one way to do that. Louis grabbed a large pouch of leprechaun gold and ran to the nearest village. Attention, your attention, please, he cried. The townsfolk gathered. I need carpenters, said Louis. As many carpenters as your village can spare. What for, leprechaun? Asked a woman. I'm building a big house, the largest you have ever seen. We can help, said the man. We've all built our own homes. But what is this house for? It's for the poor and unfortunate, said Louis. A shelter for those with no place to go. He did not say he was talking about himself. What are we waiting for, said the sympathetic villagers. Let's go. The townsfolk grabbed their tools and headed out of the village. Perfect, sneered Louis. He thought everyone had left, but he didn't see a little pair of eyes watching from behind a pig pen. To be continued. And that's it for today. There's a big shift in tone in that story between the beginning, the middle, and the end, but we can work on that next time, which will be Wednesday. So until then, thank you so much for joining me today. It's nice to be back. All right, take care and be well. Bye for now.